Well, I know in my last video I said I was stopping at Great Hayward. Well, I didn't actually know the name of the place I actually stopped. It was just a little bit past Great Hayward. I actually went up through Hoe Mill Lock because I was looking for somewhere nice to moor, somewhere with Armco, so I didn't have to put pins in. Well, I moored up in the end by Bridge 78, which I was overlooking someone's, well, it was like gardens. They had little ponds there and everything, they had a shed and everything, but it was a field, there was no house. I happened to speak to the owner and he bought the land so he could moor his boat, and he put a mooring in just a little further along the land, which you don't actually get to see because his boat's not there at the moment, and gardened it, made the field into a lovely gardened area. It's quite beautiful. I sat there for a couple of days, I chatted with the guys there, and yeah, I enjoyed it. But anyway, this journey is going to take us from there, which is Bridge 78, just north of Great Hayward. It's not really near anywhere else in particular. There's a little hamlet, a couple of houses here and there, and the A51 or 251 runs quite close. Otherwise there's not much around, so it's a beautiful mooring. And this time we're going to go up to Barlaston. I'm going to go just past the main part of the village and stop just before Wedgwood. So let's get on with the journey. I'm just squidging down here a little bit out of the wind. It's a little bit breezy this morning, trying not to get too much wind noise on the camera. I've been moored up here for a couple of days and it's time for me to make a move. Beautiful outlook here though, really enjoyed being here. It's quiet, very little foot traffic past here. So here we go. Well, this is my first lock of the day. This is Western Lock, which was just up around the corner. That's lucky, the lock's actually empty, so all I've got to do is open the gates. One thing about these Trent and Mersey locks, these little bridges over the Boston gates are very useful. They could be even more useful if they were actually like they were originally put in, with the split in the middle of the bridge, which this still has. There's no split in the rails. If they had the split in the rails still, I could now pull my boat in, save me walking up and down slippery wet block ladders. Really in luck here. A hire boat's just turned up and they've offered to do the lock for me. It's a win-win situation. Let's go and get the boat. Not that one! The grain paddle, please! You flood my boat! One thing you must always do, if other people are doing the lock for you, is keep an eye on what they're doing. They're obviously novices, it's their first day out, and they were going to open the gate paddle. Now the gate paddle is about 6 or 7 feet above my front well deck, and I certainly didn't want all the water coming straight into my boat. They could have quite easily sunk my boat if I hadn't been paying attention. The odd thing is, this is exactly the same lock. Last year, I almost made exactly the same mistake. The thing being is, this is one of the very few locks in this stretch of the canal that actually has gate paddle. Nearly all of the rest have ground paddles only. Easy mistake to make, but you have to pay attention all the time. Well, lock done, time to leave. They're very nice people, really. They apologise for shouting, but one doesn't want to sink one's boat, does one? They've learnt, and they won't make that mistake again, I'm pretty sure. It's going to get warmer.
It's supposed to be, yeah.
Although this bridge, as you can see, is a very modern bridge, it's very much in keeping with the design of traditional canal bridges. I quite like it. That is St Andrew's Church at Weston. And we are now crossing over Gayton Brook. I absolutely adore this bridge. Now, is that just complete over-engineering? Does that really have 9 or 10 arches to that bridge? Or is it just a fascia? I'm not sure, but it's absolutely stunningly beautiful. It's called Salt Bridge. This, I believe, is the exit from Aston Marina. This is just shortly before we approach Aston Lock. The entrance is just a little further up the canal. I now have the boat in the lock, and this mile marker here, this is dated 1819, is exactly halfway along the Trent Mersey Canal. And that's the lock done. Now to head into the centre of Stone and hopefully get a mooring, because I need to do some shopping and go to the post office. I'm in the centre of Stone here. I'm just doing my first lock of the day. I've stopped here at Stone for nearly 48 hours. I'm just heading into Star Lock by the Star Pub. Obviously plenty of water in the upper chamber, in the upper pan. So we go under the road bridge here and straight into the lock right next door to the Star Pub. Well, that's 2 locks down and 2 to go as we're passing the Jowls Brewery, I believe it's pronounced. I'm going to stop just after the next 2 locks. Although I haven't travelled very far, I've basically just travelled through Stone. I didn't start till after lunch, and I don't want to do the Mereford locks today. I should be more on that before them. Here on the left is a Boaters Facilities building, the toilet and nail sun, and just before here, we've just gone past it, was the rubbish disposal. I do love this bridge. There's just something about it. It's a little quirky, isn't it? the way you come into it. You go through the bridge straight into the lock, and alongside it you have the separate bridge for the horses originally, now of course for foot traffic. Lovely little bridge, isn't it? It's quite low, I can just about walk through there without hitting my head. Well, that's my last lock of the day. Well, I left Stone yesterday, as you probably know, you've seen, and I've moored up last night between, I think it's Lime Kiln Lock, the last lock you go through after coming out of Stone, and the Meaford locks, which are just up in front of me. Nice little stretch along here. You know, obviously poverty-stricken area, as you can tell by these tiny little houses everywhere, and these very beaten up old cars in the driveways. Yeah, only kidding, of course. Very nice area, isn't it? Some very nice houses. Not many cars around this morning, I guess they're off to work. Very nice little area to stop, quiet. Besides the birds singing, which I just love. Day 34 is not so far away, which you can just about hear in the distance, but it didn't bother me in the slightest. So let's get this boat unmoored and make a move up to the first lock of the day. 4 locks to do today. Alright, all unmoored. Let's go up to the lock. I think there could be a boat coming down, so that could be useful. This is quite unusual to see in a lock. It's a lock control overflow, so it stops it flooding the back gates. There's too much water in the lock. Well, as I knew the next lock was empty, which is just that short pound across to, I've just walked up and opened the gates. I knew it was empty because the boat had just come down, so before it started filling up I went and opened the gates up quick. There's no other boats coming down, so it was my lock and it was empty anyway, so I don't want people to start filling it up and wasting a lock full of water. We're just waiting now for this lock to equalise. We're almost there. You can see here, water level's almost up. It's down a little bit this side because I've just taken the lock pull out. So let's open the gate. And we can move on to the next lock. Ooh, squeaky, 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 squeaky. These Meaford locks are in pairs. This is the first pair, and then we've got a little gap of about a quarter of a mile, I guess, and we've got the next pair. So I'm just going now into lock 2 on the flight. It's lock 2 for me anyway. Let's just freeze it there for a second. When I talk about pulling the rope through these lower bridges, this is one I could do it on. If you look at it closely, you can see a split in the bridge and also a split in the railings. This is as it was designed originally. Perfect. If I wish to pull my boat in by rope, I could have done on this one. Just have split bridges here. I could have jumped off and taken the rope up with me. Half these split bridges these days you can't get a rope through, so it's easier just to go into a lock and climb the ladders. Fortunately we have a lock ladder at the stern end this time. As you can see, I can climb straight up the ladder from the back deck. That makes life quite a lot easier. So here goes. We have here what is known as a turnover bridge, or some parts of the country they call it a snake bridge, with a towpath changes size. And if you look at it carefully, you can see the towpath goes up this side here, which is where we have the towpath at the moment. And if you look through the bridge hole, you can see the towpath is now on the opposite side. So coming down over here is the way around for the horse. So the horse can go up over the bridge and down the other side without ever being unhooked from the boat. Quite ingenious, those Victorians, weren't they? Or pre-Victorians. Well, my boat's on its way out the lock. I better get back on it and stop it. How has it been gone without me? I just put in tick over it. Obviously the locks are dead straight, it can't go anywhere. And I can shut the lock gate up without having to moor up. Woods now to pair number 2. I thought for a moment back there was somebody up at the lock, but it's not. It's actually a signpost, I think, for the road which runs alongside it. Oh well, I don't mind doing them on my own. A little help is always handy. So under the turnover bridge we go. This is bridge number 97, as you can probably see on the video. I did get asked the other day why did I put the names of the bridges up and the numbers sometimes on my videos when people can quite easily read them. Quite simple. You have to watch on your phone. Sometimes it's not so easy to watch. It's people that watch on their computer or on their TV, they can see it nice and easy. Have some offside moorings here between these two sets of locks. Not sure I'd want to moor there because I'm pretty sure this pound level must be up and down all day long. Just beyond this dry stone wall here, actually some of it's got concrete infill by the looks, we have a little road. You can see there with traffic. Quite narrow. vehicle just passed another vehicle. They had to basically stop to go past each other. That's a narrow boat. This lock, you can see, also had an overflow from the lock chamber, but this one is all silted up. Well, you may not find this interesting, but I do. The bywash on this lock is all the way over here. It's not actually bywashed at the moment because I've just filled the lock up there. It wasn't when I arrived. Yeah. For some reason it's all the way over here, look. Different. There's a lot of water coming over there just now. That's trickling now. We also have flower gardens at this lock, look. Great hyacinths out, some viola, daphies are just going over. Narcissi there is still in flower by the looks. There are roses coming up there too. Another one here. A lot of violets and violas there. Great hyacinths, once again daphies going over. And I'm not quite sure what that bush is, some variegated bush of some description. And just beyond there, they planted all these trees. Now that to me looks like a cherry, or it's just a flowering cherry or an edible cherry, I don't know. Yes, there's a few of them here, and I think they are all cherry. So that's going to look rather beautiful in a few years' time when all this lot comes out in flower. So this is the sign I saw. I thought it was somebody walking. I think that's a new sign. The reason I say that, last year when I came up here, that bridge up there had been damaged by a truck. Obviously they've stopped trucks going over it now. The reason I didn't walk up and set this lock in advance is for the simple reason that it's the other side of that bridge, and I wouldn't be able to see what was going on at my boat in the lock before, and I like to be able to see when I'm setting other locks, at least be able to look back and check my boat's okay. So with that bridge in the way, I didn't do it. Hence, I bring the boat up here first and then set the lock. It takes a bit longer, but I don't really mind. I have all day to do this lock because I'm going to be stopping after this lock, and it's only 10 o'clock in the morning. This is quite a narrow little bridge to come into. There's no tow path on it, so it makes it feel much smaller than normal, although I guess the water probably width is just exactly the same. Fortunately there's a boat coming down, so nice lady has opened the gates up for me. Right, that's all my locks done for the day. I'm going to carry on for a little bit before I moor though. I'm going to moor somewhere around Barlaston. This beautiful house here on the side with its own lovely mooring here, which is a part which was dug out or cleaned out by the owner a few years ago, is absolutely wonderful, isn't it? If you'd like to know more about this place for sale, go to David from Cruising the Cut. He made a great video on it. Well worth watching. This is just a few yards further on, this wonderful whitewashed row of cottages. Here we have the Plume of Feathers. This is Neil Morrissey's pub. I think I'm going to put some music on whilst I cruise for a little bit. I'm hoping to moor up just up here. It's a lovely open spot, and I'm hoping there'll be a space there. When I managed to get the mooring I wanted, next morning I woke up with a frost on the ground, beautiful outlook across the fields, hot cross buns in the sky, and looking at the wonderful cows and horses in the fields. And that is a pair of coots walking across the field there. Well, that was my little trip from just north of Great Hayward, Bridge 78 I believe it was, to just on the outskirts of Barlaston, just before the Wedgwood factory. A lovely little trip, I thought. Some beautiful locks to go through and some fantastic countryside. But I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. I'd like to thank, of course, all my Patreon and PayPal supporters. Without your help, a lot of this wouldn't be possible. I thank, of course, everybody for watching and everybody for subscribing. And don't forget, if you're not already subscribed, do subscribe. It's free. And don't forget to hit the old bell notification button. That way YouTube will inform you every time I upload a new video. Well, that just leaves me to say, thank you very much for watching. Trevor out.